Thank you for listening to the Luminous Mind. Remember to subscribe to our free podcast so you won't miss any of our illuminating content. Here is episode 164.
What I want to change is that paradigm that says, we really can build that life of our dreams with the people we love.
Benjamin Franklin once said, "Do not curse the darkness, rather light a candle instead." If you're ready to set your mind on fire, then prepare yourself for the Luminous Mind with your host, Rebecca Bowman.
Today's fire starter is Jake Carlson. Jake is first and most importantly a family guy, a dad of 3 and a husband of 1. That's great to hear. Originally from the West Coast, his family is currently on the other side of the world on a year-long family bonding experience. Jake is the president of Family Before Fortune and the host of Family Before Fortune podcast, helping listeners build the life of their dreams with people they love, and president at thesmartfundraiser.com, which is a training company for the next generation of fundraising professionals. In addition to family and work, Jake is also CAJ, which is the Chief Adventure Junkie, which is rock climbing, volcanoes, backpacking, national parks, and scuba diving anytime he gets spousal permission. Welcome, Jake.
Well, thank you. It's so good to be with you today, Rebecca.
Yeah, I'm so excited to hear all about your adventures that you need spousal permission for and then stuff you've done with your family. But before we get into any of that, would you please go ahead and tell our audience a little bit more about yourself?
Well, a lot of what is going on in my life right now, you just covered in that short little bio. I don't have a whole lot going on. In fact, if I could only do 2 things right now, it would be Chief Adventure Junkie, getting out there doing all this wild and crazy stuff, and then just spending time with my family. But of course, neither of those are paying the bills. So as you mentioned, I do my Family Before Fortune podcast, a weekly podcast, helping people build the life of their dreams with the people they love. And what's important about that is we have such busy lives that sometimes we think to build the life of our dreams, we have to do it on our own. We have to go out there and put in the hard hours and stay out late. But what I want to change is that paradigm that says, we really can build that life of our dreams with the people we love. And then, of course, you mentioned I have my wife, my 3 kids, 11, 8, and 5, and we're around the world. We're just out there doing it, having a great time.
That's awesome. Well, I love the phrase family before fortune because I think we do get a little lost sometimes and we have so many people that are just living their life to work for somebody else and do some things like that for other people that delay family because they don't feel like they can have family and, a decent life as well. Why do we have the life if it's not to hang out with people that we love, right?
That's right. And, we believe in fortune. We believe in making money and having nice things and being able to do a lot of fun stuff. But it's all about putting that family first. It's all about prioritization and, putting first and then moving on to everything else.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's hear a little bit more about that mission and passion that you have. Give us an idea of how that all came to be.
Well, finding my mission and my passion, I think, is a lifelong journey. And I'm not quite even halfway there yet, I hope. I have a lot more changing and mission and passion to find. But I was reading a book, Jim Collins' book, Great by Choice. And if you know Jim Collins, he's the Good to Great author, the Built to Last author. And his most recent book is Great by Choice. And there's a chapter in there that I think really defines how you come about finding a mission and a passion. And that's what I've done in my life. And it's called Shoot Bullets First and Then Cannonballs. And the idea is that if you're in a battle, right, you imagine in the olden days, you have the ships out on the sea and they have the cannonballs. If you don't take the time to aim, if you just shoot those cannonballs, you're going to lose a lot of them into the ocean. But if you calibrate the gun by shooting first bullets, which are cheaper and easier, and then when you get that aim correctly, then you can fire those cannonballs. And I think that's what it's really about in passion and finding your mission. For me, I've done a ton of different things. And I think as we get through this podcast, you're going to think, boy, Jake, you're all over the place. You've done a million different things. But to me, that's just shooting those bullets. That's just finding that calibration. And then once you find what you love to do, what you're passionate about, well, then you fire those cannonballs. So for me, I jumped on the stage. I loved it. I jumped on the microphone, podcasting. I loved it. And I realized that this is where I want to put my energy. I want to go all in on these passionate items.
That's awesome. Well, and tell us a little bit more, like the backstory of how, I mean, was this something that you grew up doing, or is it something that you've kind of evolved to become?
Well, when I was 8 years, you want me to start back going back 20 years ago? When I was 8 years old, my dad, this is back in the days with the cassette tape, right? And we'd get in the car, we'd go different places, and he'd throw in the cassette tape Zig Ziglar. And I'm not sure if you're familiar, Zig Ziglar, just a motivation speaker. Oh, loved him. And at that young age, it was just so impactful and inspirational into my life. I remember at 12 years old, my dad made me a deal. He said, look, Zig Ziglar's coming to town. Tickets are $175. If you buy yours, I'll buy mine, and we'll go together. Here we are, 12 years old. This is back in the 80s. Where are you going to come up with $175? Well, I wanted to see Zig so bad that I got my ticket, went with my dad. It was life-changing. And I watched him on stage and how he captivated the audience and the feeling that I had as I walked away from the stage. And I didn't know at the time what that meant. I just knew that something important had happened. And now as I fast forward to these years, I can see it all started from that point. I realized that seeing Zig on the stage, motivating and inspiring people, really inspired me to tell me, this is what I want to do. And so it all came back as I got on the podcast, as I got doing different things. It all came back to that feeling of I want to inspire and I want to be a resource, a mentor to other people.
That was awesome. So give me an idea of what your educational journey kind of looked like for you to achieve this. Go back to that beginning too.
We talked about a little bit about shooting a lot of rifle shots and just doing a whole bunch of stuff. I was all over the place. I didn't know what I wanted to do. In fact, my dream in life was to be a senator, and things have changed. I don't want to do that. But, I went to undergrad. I worked on a philosophy degree, which you know what that means. I had more education in my future. And then after I did that, I went away to law school, did law school for a little while and graduated from law school, member of the Arizona State Bar. Then I went and got my MBA and wanted to do finance. I was going to go work on Wall Street and be a financial guy. All of these little steps through education have kind of put me down a path that I don't think I could have created for myself. It's kind of that road less traveled. It's each little decision that you make opens another door or closes another door, and it kind of sends you down a path. And that's what happened to me. And I find myself where I am today, and I go, I couldn't have scripted it. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, I didn't even know what a podcast was, let alone how to host one.
Yeah, it is kind of a new fun thing, huh? So,
absolutely.
Well, and give us an idea of, with that mission of putting family first, what's your idea behind that?
Well, the idea behind putting family first is really that
before fortune, I should say, putting family before fortune.
We could do everything. In fact, I believe you can have everything you want in life. You just have to plan, you have to prepare, you have to prioritize, you have to put your goals in the right order. And so for me, I looked out there and I said, I am this 20-something. I'm now in my 30s, late 30s actually. And I'm this guy who had my mind, I was going to go be a senator. I was going to go be an analyst on Wall Street. I was going to go put in, 15, 20 hours a day and work my guts out so that I could have the success, so that I could afford to go, chief adventure junkie and go jump off buildings and go do crazy things like that. And as I started going down this path, I met my wife, we got married, we started to have children, and I started to realize that the dream that I had was conflicting with what I prioritized as my values. Family was a value to me, but I saw in my mind the only way to have what I wanted to have was to sacrifice something. But then I came to this realization that you don't have to sacrifice. What you need to do is you need to prioritize and plan. And so I started to create this Family Before Fortune, which was really an idea of how you can create this life without sacrificing your family, how you can still be a senator, or how you can still work on Wall Street, or in my case, I was a tax attorney for 11 years, how you could still be an attorney and not sacrifice your family, be there for them, the important points in their life. And I used it really as an opportunity for me to research different things that I wanted to learn, things that I was struggling with. And so the listeners of my podcast, they know that every episode of my podcast is basically something that I'm struggling with, something that I want to know more about. And I dive into, the research. So for myself, hopefully they get something out of it, but really I put my thoughts together so that we can go down this path. I can learn these different things for myself because I want to be, I kind of want to be everything, I think I want to have it all.
And that's kind of fun. I love the idea that you can, you don't have to sacrifice one or the other, but just put them into priority. So do you feel like that's been your overall paradigm change over the years with time and experience?
I think this is one of my favorite questions that you have, this paradigm shift, because, I think especially some of us type A personalities that feel like we have everything, in our grasp and in our control, at a young age, I thought I had it all figured out, right? I was going to go to school. I was going to get my law degree. I was going to, I had it all mapped out. And I look at how it's changed. And to me, that paradigm shift, I started out being this real formal education guy, this real got to go to college, got to put your head down, bury in the books, make sure you get the good grades, write articles, meet the right people, do these kind of things. And now I see this paradigm shift and I see this shift in myself. And it's really this new online world that we've created for, the world basically, where you can have mentors from all the way around the world. You can be sitting in Malaysia and talking to somebody in the United States and really have this great experience, this great connection, this great mentorship, with this online world of courses and training, with the books that are available nowadays and all this stuff that's going out there, that I've really shifted to this point where I'm now homeschooling my kids. We are in control of what they learn. We're in control of how they learn. The how and what are so important. And I want my kids to be able to try different things. I want my kids to be able to, I fail a little bit. I hope they don't fail too big, but, I want them to fail. I want them to adjust. I want them to grow. I want them to learn new things. And so the paradigm shift for me is a shift from this formalized education where, A leads to B, leads to C, leads to D, to this education where you can go out and get a little bit of A from a mentor, and you can get a little bit of B from some books that you're reading, and you can get a little C from online courses or podcasts that you're listening to. And then you put all that together and add a little dash of experience. And that's really what your education is. That's really what puts you on the path to becoming the person that you want to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and we have talked about on this podcast before about how, when we put kids in an application setting, it just skyrockets their learning because it becomes something useful to them at that point. And, it's not just information that they're trying to get out of a book to, pass a test. It's actual life information and life skills and stuff. So let's talk about how you're making all this come true. We talked about in your bio that, you're on the other side of the world right now. You're in Malaysia and you're doing a year-long family bonding experience. How are you making that happen, financially as well as just the logistics of traveling plus working? How does that all work?
And, it's super exciting. And one thing that's real fun is when this episode goes live, I have a bucket list of places that I want to see and places that I want to go and do. And one of the places on my bucket list is Myanmar, formerly known as Burma. And it's only been open for tourism for about 11 years. And when this episode goes live, we're going to be in Burma. We're going to be in Myanmar. And so checking one more item off my bucket list. But your question, how did this all come about? It's just kind of crazy. We looked at it. We're building a business. The business is location independent, meaning that we can live anywhere as long as we have an internet connection, which we found over the past couple of months isn't always true around the world. But we put everything that we own on Craigslist or dropped it off at the Goodwill. We sold everything and embarked on this journey. We've been out about 2 months. By the time this goes live, we'll be about probably close to 3 months. And we've been in a bunch of different places. We've been in Philippines, Singapore. Like you said, we're in Malaysia now. We're heading off to Thailand and Myanmar, Cambodia coming up in the future. And then one of my other bucket lists is I want to spend Christmas in Prague in the Czech Republic. And so we're going to be in Prague for Christmas. And how are we doing it? Well, we just put together a plan, and I'm a real planner. So about a year ago, we started talking about what we wanted to do next in our lives. And my job was winding down, that I had a more formalized job in the States. And so we started putting a plan together. We started saving up our little pennies here and there anytime we could, and really started thinking about it. And all the ducks came into a row right at the perfect time. my kids are at the right ages for it. My oldest daughter was transitioning from elementary school to middle school. And so this was a good opportunity for her to take a little bit of a break. We do plan on going back and spending time so that the kids can have, your more traditional US-based high school teenage experience. But it was perfect time for us. So we just put it all together and just actually went and did it. And to be completely honest with you, Rebecca, we're still learning along the way. It hasn't been always easy. We had our house broken into a couple of weeks ago, and it was really scary. It was in the middle of the night. We figure about 2 or 3 a.m. We were all asleep. Had my computer stolen, which would be, if you could imagine, every piece of office equipment that you have, every business piece you have, walked out the door. And we were out without computers for 19 days, and the business ground to a halt. I mean, it's been ups and downs, but it's mostly been ups. It's been awesome.
Wow. Well, let's kind of talk about, I wanted to talk about some of your writings and stuff, but that just brings me to obstacles. Is that the only obstacle that you faced, or have you learned other things from different challenges that you've had?
When you make a plan like traveling the world, or when you make a plan like leaving a formal business, a traditional, what you would think of as a traditional business, to start your own business, to be an entrepreneur, there's always things that that you don't think of. There's always going to be surprises that you have. And we've seen many, many obstacles and challenges as we've gone, but we look at them as stepping stones to success. We look at them, as the weightlifter needs to push a lot of weight to get big muscles, we get to push a lot of weight here. And it's really kind of funny. I mentioned that story about getting our place broken into, really scary experience for us. But the day before that experience happened, I recorded a podcast on how we need to laugh through our trials. I'm a big fan of Jimmy Buffett, and he has this song that basically says, if we couldn't laugh, we'd all go insane. And so I recorded a podcast on how we have to laugh through our trials, and I was sharing some of the trials that we'd had. Living in the Philippines, no internet connection. We've lost our flip-flops. We burned our feet, some of these types of things. The next day, we had our home broken into and our office stolen. And I was just thinking, yesterday, the things that were so big and so important, no Wi-Fi and getting our feet burned, were so important. Today, we look at it and we just go, thank goodness our family's safe. Thank goodness that they only took possessions and they didn't do anything to us as we all slept through it.
Wow.
Just we all go through obstacles. We all go through trials, but they're really the building blocks of success. They really help us get to the next stage in our lives.
I do love that kind of analogy of weightlifting, that we have to do some really hard things to see that growth. And that's really, the crux of the family learning experience, I think, sometimes is doing those hard things and trying to get through it. Hopefully everyone's sane, when they get to the end. But it does create better success in the future. Tell us some success that you've seen with what you're choosing to do.
Well, the biggest success that we've had is just the family bonding experience that we've gotten. I sit there, like I said, I've got my headphones on while I'm listening to my kids with their schoolwork. And I'm just amazed at how when we control the what and the how that the kids learn, how quickly that they can learn. And the biggest success that we've had is just the time that we spend as a family. Being out here in a foreign country, we spend essentially 24 hours a day together. There's really no time that one of us is running off on our own just because my kids are young. It's not necessarily safe in all the areas that we are. So we try to stay together. And that has been one of the greatest successes. As far as business success and life success goes, being able to leave a traditional employment opportunity, a position that I was doing fairly well in, and be able to walk away and go and do my own thing to start my own business, that to me is a huge success. And even if I don't make up the income that we've had previously, just the opportunity to think outside the box and to show my kids that, you can do hard things in life. You can go out and do things that you believe in, that you're passionate about. You don't have to succumb to what people think of as traditional, this is the right thing and this is what you need to do. You can make your own plan and you can make and go. So to us, that's the big successes. Of course, I love the success of having more and more people listen to the podcast. When you go and as a podcaster yourself, Rebecca, I'm sure you see this as you go on whatever program that you're using and see the numbers tick up each week and you see more and more people jumping on board. That's a huge success always. Just one more person listening to the show.
That is. Well, and let's talk about some of the things that you're doing, with your podcasts. He's got a couple of websites that you're going to want to check out. The first one is, of course, his family blog, which is atransformationallife.com, which is their travel blog, and then familybeforefortune.com. Do you want to tell us about each one of those and what our listeners can find there?
Yeah, you bet. So transformationallife.com, with the A in front, transformationallife.com, that's really our travel blog where my wife spends a lot of time taking a lot of pictures and writing up where we've been and the experiences that we had, some of the emotions that we've experienced. And it's been a lot of fun for us, especially with the people who know us very well, to jump on and kind of see where we're at and what we're doing. It's a good place for people to keep in touch with us. And so that's what A Transformational Life is all about. And it's been pretty fun as far as writing, if you're ever in Singapore, this is what you should see. By the way, Singapore, incredible country, just absolutely so much fun. This is what you should go and see there. Family Before Fortune is where I spend most of my time. Family Before Fortune is an idea that I had where you can build the life of your dreams with the people you love. And so that's where the podcast is. That's where the blog is. And I spent a lot of time over there just cultivating ideas and building up, my social proof and things like that. In a TED talk that Tony Robbins gave a number of years ago, he said that ideas are the currency of the 21st century. And if you really think about that, you look at the direction that this world's heading, and it's all about ideas. It's all about the ability to write or speak or video or communicate with those that you have influence and things that being a mentor to other people. And so I look at Family Before Fortune as my opportunity to be a virtual mentor, to be online and be available for people to help others build the life of their dreams with people that they love.
Before we go on, let's listen to this message.
Hey, fire starters. This is Mark, producer of the Luminous Mind. If you're like me, the thought of going out to the store and shopping is enough to make you want to crawl in a hole and hide. If that's you, then do your shopping online through Amazon. Just go to theluminousmind.net, click on the Amazon link, and shop away. Also, most of the books and resources that Rebecca and her guests discuss can be found on our Amazon links as well. Again, if you're like me, you have already accidentally signed up for Amazon Prime. So most of those purchases should have free shipping as well. Good luck!
Welcome back to the Luminous Mind with Jake Carlson from Family Before Fortune. So with some of these, like with your travel log that you're doing and stuff, are those things that you're going to continue after you guys decide to kind of take more of a traditional life? Or, is this going to be like a long-term effort that you're going to do?
Yeah, so A Transformational Life will always be part of our life. And I love that it's not just a travel blog, although over the past couple of months, that's what it's kind of turned into because we are traveling. But to me, it's all about having a life that's transformational. It's the ability to take your goals and your dreams, your aspirations, things that you think are impossible, things that you don't think you can accomplish, and going out and doing them. And for some people, that may be just getting up in front of a group and speaking. For other people, that may be taking their family around the world. For other people, it may be starting a podcast. But just what would it take to get to the next level? And so I see us as a family always talking on A Transformational Life about how to have that transformation, how to make those changes in your life and doing that. But will it always be a travel blog? Probably not.
Well, and with your podcast, you have been doing that for quite a while, correct?
Yeah, it's fun. We just hit 100 episodes. And so that's a little party for us, to get to the triple digits. And I probably will do that for the rest of my life. If I could put my finger on one thing that I've enjoyed more than anything else in life outside of family, I'm speaking work here, it's that podcast. I love to prepare it. And you probably have a similar experience, Rebecca. Just the people you talk to, the topics, the research, getting behind the microphone, seeing it online and out there in the world. I just love that. So I'll do that forever. I love that.
It's kind of gratifying in that way. And you've been doing some writing too, correct?
Yeah, so I do quite a bit of writing. And like Tony Robbins said, the ideas are the currency of the 21st century. And so in order to have influence, in order to affect change in the most number of lives, you really have to get out there and distinguish yourselves from everybody else. And I had a guest on my show a little while back, John Lee Dumas. He hosts a podcast, Entrepreneur on Fire, that's been very successful. In fact, he's built his podcast into a 7-figure business. Yeah, and when I had him on the show, yeah, it's absolutely crazy. By the way, nowhere close to that personally. But, John, when he came on the show, I asked him a similar question. And to him, he said, it's all about focus. It's all about following that one course until you're successful. And so for me, that's really what it's all about. It's all about, dialing in and focusing in and just doing anything you can to get out there and influence as many people as you can. Because if I can influence just one more person, that's a success in my book. And so, yeah, I've been doing some writing. I did write a book. I'm actually working on another book on fundraising, becoming a fundraising expert right now. I spent most of my career working in the nonprofit world as a national representative for a national nonprofit. So I do a little bit of writing there. And then, of course, the blog and the writing that we do on a transformational life.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and he does have a free ebook, Success Through Quotes. And do you want to tell us what that's about?
Yeah, you bet. So one of the things I told you earlier in the podcast, I love Zig Ziglar. And he's been just a huge influence in my life. And one of the things that he has reiterated so many times into my ears and, as I've read his books, is you can have everything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want. And so I've really tried to make that my business philosophy, give enough other people what they want, and you can have everything you want. And so in that vein, I'd love to offer your listeners just a small thanks and a little way to get to know me a little bit better. Like you said, I have this ebook called Success Through Quotes, which I just updated this week. So it's fresh off the computer screen. And I'd love to offer your listeners a free copy. I set up a link over on familybeforefortune.com/TLM for the Luminous Mind.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's TLM. So familybeforefortune.com and then /TLM. And there's a free copy of the book there. And it's a number of quotes that have meant a lot to me and some stories behind why they've meant a lot to me and how they've transformed my life, how they've jump-started where I'm at in life.
Well, and when I was looking over your book, I was really intrigued by, memes are kind of like that. Kind of the new thing that people are doing, and maybe it's because we've heard a ton of things like that we don't have the attention span to listen and stuff, but sometimes those little quotes are just so powerful because they stick in your head, and then you can move through your life with that little bit of knowledge in your head that just is so impactful, probably much more so than some long drawn out book. Do you feel like that?
I absolutely agree. And thank you for bringing that up, because when I was writing the book, Success Through Quotes, one of the things that I spent the most time on, more than writing, as much time as it took me to write the book, I spent on trying to pick the right pictures and the right quotes. And I remember, I'm laying in bed and I tapped my wife on the shoulder and she was, reading or doing something else. And I'd say, look at this picture. Do you think this really, and I explained to her what I wanted it to kind of show and convey. Do you think this picture really conveys what I'm trying to show here? And so I really appreciate you bringing that up, because the pictures probably took the most time to put together so that they would be impactful, so that when you saw the picture, it would communicate what that quote meant to me.
Yeah, well, I'm a huge quote fan too, so I'm really excited to dive a little bit more into that. And just the little bit that I got out of it was very helpful. But so give us some ideas of maybe some personal habits that you feel have been really helpful in your life and to help make you successful, that you can go and have this life that you have.
Yeah, you bet. So I'm huge into routine. I have a checklist for everything, and I have my morning routine that I get up in the morning and I do these 7 steps. And I had a guest on my podcast, Hal Elrod, who wrote the book, The Miracle Morning. And, he just really communicated to me, and I've just taken it in, is you have to have this routine when you get up so that when you get up, you're fresh, you're ready to go, your mind is invigorated and rejuvenated. And then I have this evening routine before I go to bed. And so routine has been huge for me. Another thing that's been really big for me is I read a book a week. And I do that through a couple of different ways. I listen to a lot of books. I'm a huge subscriber to Audible.
Yeah, I love Audible.
And do you listen to them? I've got my speed up to 3x speed, so I can get through books 3 times faster.
I'll have to try that.
My wife thinks I'm crazy. You got to try this. You go up just a half a step a day. So, you start today, you go to 1.5 times, and then tomorrow you go to 2.5 times. And it's amazing. Within 3 days, your mind catches up to that speed, and you can go through books at 3 times the speed, which means you can get through a big, 200, 300, 400 page book within a week, no problem. And
Wow.
That's been huge for me as far as, one of these things that's been a step to success is just reading a book a week. And I review a book a week on my podcast. It's been an important part for me and my growth and development. So those are just a couple of things that have had a big impact in my life.
Great. So with your daily habits that you have, your 7 steps, this is just going totally off our questions. How do you keep your routine going with your traveling? I mean, I always find that really difficult because you're traveling, you're in a new place, everything's kind of situated weird and stuff. Is it like a checklist that you have that you do so that you don't miss anything? Or tell us a little bit about that.
With only 7 steps, after you do it a couple of days, it's really ingrained in you anyway, and you just kind of walk through them mentally. But yeah, I have actually got them written down, and in the beginning, I would check mark them. In fact, I'm so routine, I'm so type A personality that I have a checklist at the end of the day that I go through all my goals, what I'm going to set up for tomorrow, how I'm going to prepare. I really like to, I'll give you an example. For this podcast, we're recording it in the morning for me, bright and early here in Malaysia. And I've got the ironing board set up in the bedroom. I've got my computer on the ironing board. I've got my microphone. I set all this up last night so that when I got up this morning, it was all prepared. Then I had a plan put together because this room is very echoey. I don't know how it's coming across the line.
It sounds good. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Because, it's very tile, it's very thin walls. And so I've got blankets stuffed up in the windowsills. I've got pillows on the floor covering the tile just to kind of deaden the sound a little bit. But I did all that last night. I had that plan put together so that when I got up this morning, I walk through my normal routine. I'm all ready to go. My computer's all set up. I sit down over here, put the headphones on, turn on the microphone, ready to go.
Yeah, and it's really early over there, so we're grateful for that.
It's not too bad.
Well, with your 3 times speed, what book do you feel like you've read that's been the most influential?
This was an easy question for me because there was one book that I read 4 times this year. It's been that impactful in my life. I can't think of another time or another book that's had this much influence on my life. Have you heard of the book Smart Cuts by Shane Snow?
I actually have not heard of that one.
So Shane Snow wrote a book called Smart Cuts, and the little tagline on it is how hackers, innovators, and icons accelerate success. And he basically defines smart cuts as shortcuts with integrity. And I really love this book because it focuses on lateral thinking. And, if we've got just a little minute, I want to tell you, can I tell you a quick story from the book?
I'd love to hear it.
So the book starts out, this I love. The book starts out and it plays this little mind game with you. And so it says, imagine that you're driving down the street and you're in a 2-seater car and it's pouring rain outside. I mean, just torrential downpour. And you come up on a bus stop and you look out the window and you see 3 people standing there. You see an old woman who's in need of medical care. You see your best friend in life who you owe your life to. And then you see your one and only chance to meet your significant other or the love interest of your life. But you've only got 1 seat in the car in this torrential downpour. What do?
I don't know. That's a tough one.
It's really tough.
I mean, you feel bad for the lady that's needing the medical help. Can you come back?
Well, that's what this book is all about. This book is all about lateral thinking. So here's the idea. You give your keys to your best friend. You have him take the woman to get medical care, and you stay at the bus stop with the love interest of your life. So you can
great.
really do everything, but you just got to think laterally. You got to think differently. And so I love this book. It talks about trying to climb the ladder, but you don't climb the ladder to the top. You climb the ladder until you see a better ladder, and then you hop ladders. And so the book's called Smart Cuts by Shane Snow, and I just love it. I think it's one of the best books ever written. Like I said, I read it 4 times this year. It's had that much influence and impact on my life.
Well, and making those cuts with integrity. I love that part of it too. That's great.
Yeah.
So, you talked about wanting to help others and be an influence for them. Let's talk a little bit about mentoring and how you feel like that's made a significant difference in your success, or maybe how mentoring others has been meaningful to you.
Mentoring others is what I'm trying to do, but I'm hoping that I can be half as good as the mentors that I've had. I mean, if I could be half as impactful in the lives of the people who hear my podcast as the people who have mentored me have been, I think that's a success. For me, mentorship and the mentors that I've had have been absolutely incredible. 2 in particular, my father was a huge mentor of mine, still to this day is. I call him for a number of different things. And, his advice, and he's one of these guys, he'll never tell me what to do. He'll give me all the scenarios and I say, Dad, I already know all the scenarios. I've thought about all these. Just tell me what I should do. But just talking to him has been huge. But
he doesn't sound like the type of guy that would tell you what to do, right?
Yeah, he wouldn't. That's, I think, what's important as well. But I've also had a business mentor for the past 10 years in my life. And this is just a great story. I met this guy early in my career, and I went to him to teach him something. And as we sat together in a meeting, he started teaching me things. In fact, I was teaching him the basic, elementary ed stuff, and he started teaching me the master's degree stuff. And I stopped him and I said, it's obvious you don't need my help, but I obviously need your help. Can I call you sometime and just get a little bit of feedback, bounce a few ideas off of you? He said, absolutely. I called him a week later. For 10 years, we've had lunch about every 3 months. We've vacationed together as a family, as our families. We've had dinner as families. This guy has just been a tremendous influence in my life. And it's all because he took the time to share what he knew, the experiences that he's had in life. And he took a chance on a young man who was just starting out his career and didn't really know a lot and probably was a little hotshot and thinking he knew everything, and took the time to mentor. And so I can't say enough about mentors. In fact, if I attribute any of the small success that I've had in life, it's because of the huge mentors that have played the role in my life.
And learning from others and how that can be so helpful into our own lives like that. Really be the best teachers that we've ever had. Correct.
And that's really become the goal of like Family Before Fortune. I mean, it's really to give back what's been given to me so generously.
Well, and mentoring is much different than teaching, right? I mean, you were talking about before how your formal education, is a lot more structured and stuff. Is that kind of where you've evolved a little bit too? Is that maybe you've realized that instead of some of those formal teachers, some of those mentors that we have that just help mold and shape us, that don't necessarily give us the answers, but yet help provide inspiration in our lives? Is that...
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the big distinction that I would draw there is in a teaching environment, like a formal education school environment, how much do you really feel like your teacher cares about you as an individual? I mean, how much do you feel that the teacher cares where you end up or what grade you get, or how much investment does a teacher have in you versus, and by the way, I do recognize that there are great teachers out there that do this for their students, that do have this influence and impact. And I've heard tons of stories about people who attribute their success to a high school teacher that took them aside and helped them with their writing or whatnot. But for the most part, as a generalization, a teacher is more invested in the whole class learning and growing and not so much in you individually. Whereas a mentor is kind of there by your side. They're holding hands with you along this journey, and you can really feel that caring in their voice and what they're doing. When they give you learnings and teachings, it's with that love or with that caring. They want you as an individual to succeed. And that's where I would draw a distinction.
Definite distinction. And you can be a teacher and a mentor all at the same time. But let's also talk about maybe some long-term goals that you have and how that works into the legacy that you hope to leave.
One of your great questions is you sent the questions over a little bit early and I was looking through them. If you could leave a legacy, what would it be? And to me, we're all going to leave a legacy.
Oh, we are. Yeah.
We all are. But we have the power to control, maybe not control, but to influence what our legacy is going to be. And it's kind of funny right now as I think about this, and it might be the time that I am in life, with my young kids, but I'm much more focused at this point in my life on the legacy my kids are creating for themselves. It might be because of my age. It might be because, and possibly as I get older, I'll start focusing more on what legacy I'm going to leave. But right now, my focus is on giving my kids the experiences and the opportunities, helping them to grow so that they can leave a legacy. When it comes to family before fortune, the legacy I hope I leave with that is I hope that as everyone turns off the podcast, and hopefully it's the same with the Luminous Mind, this episode with me being on it, I hope that the listeners, when they turn off this episode, they shake their head and they say, that was really valuable. I spent whatever amount of time that this podcast ends up being, I spent this time and it was worth my time. It was worth my effort. That Jake and that Rebecca, they do great work. They put time, they care, into what they're doing. That's kind of the legacy I want to leave. Not just that I'm a perfectionist, not just that I, try my best to make the sound perfectly, but really that I add value, that I care about what the listeners experience and, where they're going in life. Hopefully I'm a mentor and not just a teacher.
Oh, I love it. Well, it's been inspiring to me to listen to you talk, definitely.
Oh,
so
you're too kind.
So before we say goodbye, do you have any final parting words of advice to share for our listeners? And then give us your contact information, how we can get in touch with you.
Yeah, you bet. Well, as far as my life mantra, and we've said it before earlier in the podcast, Zig Ziglar said this: you can have everything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want. So my suggestion or my parting words of advice is to go out there and serve, to go out there and impart whatever wisdom or experience or whatever help that you can be in this life to other people. And if you do that, you'll have everything that you want. You'll have everything that you need. And as far as getting in touch with me, I'm easy. I'm all over the place. I'm on Twitter at Jake A. Carlson. We've talked about the websites, Family Before Fortune. The podcast is over on iTunes at Family Before Fortune. I'm pretty easy to get in touch with. And if your listeners want to go check out that free ebook, Success Through Quotes, over at thefamilybeforefortune.com/TLM for the Luminous Mind, that has all my contact information, easy to get in touch with.
Oh, that's great. Once again, his contact information is transformationallife.com, where he has a travel blog, but then also familybeforefortune.com, which, building the life of your dreams with the people you love. And if you want to get a copy of his free ebook for our guests of the Luminous Mind, the ebook is Success Through Quotes. Go to the link at familybeforefortune.com/TLM. But I'm going to be sure to link up all that information that we discussed today on our website as well. But thanks so much, Jake, for joining us and for helping light our minds on fire. I really appreciate it.
You're a great podcast host, and what you're doing with the Luminous Mind is just tremendous. It's been an honor and a privilege to be a guest on your show, and I thank you for your time and giving me just a little slice of it.
Thank you for listening to The Luminous Mind. To learn more about Jake Carlson, go to our show notes at theluminousmind.net. Be sure to become a subscriber to our free email list and get our new monthly newsletter. Then check out the Services tab to see how we can continue to assist you, our fire starters. Also, to help us continue production of illuminating content, go to the Sponsor tab at theluminousmind.net for more information on sponsorship and affiliate programs. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, and now Instagram. Get our free audio content by subscribing on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. To help us grow, consider these easy ways. Tell your friends about us, leave us a review, share our content, tell us how we can help you, so together we can continue to light minds on fire and change the paradigm of education.